Hey guys, it's Gameface here and welcome back to a new series, a new Ultimate Team series. Today I'm going to be launching a new series called The Worst Possible Squad Builder. Now, of course, you've probably seen Bateson87 do his best possible squad builders, so I flipped it, quite literally, and I'm going to basically be showing you the worst possible squad builder. In the first episode, we're going to be doing the worst possible Real Madrid team. Now, you might be thinking, what's the point of this? I'm not going to want a really bad side, so what's the point? The point is basically to show you that you don't need to spend millions and millions of coins to be able to play well and to be able to have a good team and to be able to get results. That's the point of it, and we're going to kick things off with the Real Madrid side here, and it is the worst possible Real Madrid team. There's a couple of players I'll go through and kind of explain the reasons why they're in over other players and that sort of thing. But before we get into things, if we could go ahead and hit 40 likes on the first episode of this new Ultimate Team series, then I would really appreciate it. And if you haven't already, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button as well if you haven't already and you're new to the channel. I would also really appreciate that. Let's crack on with things straight away. Once I've finished showing you the team, we'll obviously go through some of the goals I've scored. I've already played with this side and I can already tell you it's much better than you might think. So, this is the first play we've got, and it's obviously the goalkeeper, Yanez. Apologies if some of my pronunciation is completely off on this. I'm going to try and pronounce it Yanez. Not 100% sure that's quite right. But he's my goalkeeper, a silver goalkeeper, so not too bad. Obviously could be worse, but he's the worst goalkeeper at Real Madrid. And we're going to move on to the right back here. Danilo's actually the worst right back. You can obviously see Carvajal there. But Danilo is the worst one. I think that's his worst card. I'm pretty sure he's got a second card, but don't quote me on that one. And we'll move on to the centre-backs now. This is where things get a little bit interesting. First one is Silver Guy, a player I've never heard of before, and Lienhart, I think is how I pronounce his name, 65 overall, actually a fairly decent player, but quite happy with how he performed in game, considering his overall and obviously the rest of his stats. And you briefly saw the next player, that's Fernandez, someone you're probably more familiar with. It's not actually his worst card, I think his worst card's 78 rated, this is 80 rated, but it was cheaper than the 78 rated card, so not really too sure why that is, but it was the cheaper option, so I went for it. You can obviously get a worse version if you really wanted to, but it's still obviously him that is the worst centre-back that we can put in there. If we go move on to the left-back, another player that's not too bad, it's a rare gold again, and it's Fabio Contrao. Actually very good in-game, very happy with him. Not the fastest full-back, the stats are pretty average, to be honest, there's no standout stats on his card, but after all, it is the worst possible side, so that's to be expected. Moving on into the midfield, this is where things get a little bit interesting. Some players in here which are not great, but actually in-game very good. The stats don't look that great, but this guy here, his runs from midfield are incredible. You pay some seriously decent money for him. He's only actually scored one goal for me. He's got an assist as well. I've only played 4 games with this side, and actually I've only played 3 because one guy quit out after a minute. So he's very good stats and a really good player. I'm very happy with him in game. He's probably been one of the better players from this whole squad. Very surprisingly good as well. We'll move on to some of the other midfielders now, and again we've got plenty of different options to go through. We'll move on to the CDM first of all, and it is a silver player called Silver, and it is obviously a much better player than Febas on obviously the base attributes that you have on his card, but still not a fantastic player. Pace-wise, not looking great, but actually in game was a very good player yet again, and that's kind of the theme throughout the whole side. It's a very rubbish Real Madrid team, but actually in game it performed really well. We came up against some very tough sides, and I'll show you the sides hopefully in the clips as well, and we can just see the sort of teams that we were able to beat, draw against, and perform really well against. Here's a centre attacking mid. He's obviously the worst player that we could put in that position as well, and it's Odegaard. I don't believe he's actually at Real Madrid at the moment, but this is obviously his Real Madrid card, and actually another good player as well. Very happy with his performance. Overall, it was a really solid team performance. We were able to get some really good performances out of these players, considering the stats and their overall, that sort of thing. Moving on to left mid, and it is Enzo Fernandez, I believe is his first name, Enzo. Fernandez here playing as a left winger. I decided to put him in as that position. Obviously, I could change it if I really wanted to, but I've gone with him as a left mid in the left wing position, and was actually surprisingly good. His pace obviously isn't very good, and kind of the same throughout the whole squad. The stamina of this team wasn't very good in general, but this guy in particular just seemed to have the ability to keep on playing, some great dribbling, as you can see by his stats there as well, and he was just an all-round decent player, so I was very happy with him. Surprisingly good though, due to the lack of pace. I am playing in Division 4 at the moment as well, just to kind of give you an idea of whereabouts I am in terms of the divisions. But yeah, overall, a very good player again on that wide, on the left-hand side. We've gone with, obviously, someone that's a little bit better on the right-hand side. because he is obviously the worst of the bunch that we could pick from. And again, it's his better card. You can get his worst card. I think this is the player where it's a non-rare card that you can get. Again, it worked out as cheaper to get the 82 version, so that's what I did. Very, very good player, as you'd expect. He's one of the better players on the team with his stats and his overall being so good. Stuck him out on the right wing, and as you can see there, got me a goal from 4 games. Again, it's basically 3 games, not 4. So to get 1 goal is pretty decent. And in 1 game, we did actually score 4 goals against a very, very good side. So there are goals in this team, despite actually not being great on paper. There are some very, very good goal scorers in here. But overall, kind of the goals were very, very spread out across the team. That's one thing certainly to note. You will score goals with various different players. And moving on to the final one, and it's Virgos. And he's a Greek striker. I've actually never heard of this guy as well, at Real Madrid. And overall, his stats are pretty decent. Like, they're okay for a silver player. 71 pace isn't too bad. He wasn't as good as some of the other players. He didn't obviously score, which is a little bit disappointing in 3 games for a striker. But he did get 2 assists, so he did contribute in a sense. And he got 2 yellow cards at the same time as well. So it's a contribution, but not the greatest goal scorer in this team by any stretch of the imagination. There was obviously much better players. The runners from midfield were the big surprise, though. Don't know if it was just this formation, but overall, those runners were incredible, really opening up their defence nicely. And this is the worst possible Real Madrid team, so let me know in the comments below if you decide to go buy this. I'll show you the goals now just as proof as this team is actually very, very good. And like I said at the start, the point of this series is to basically show you that you don't need to be spending millions and millions of coins to be able to have a good side. This cost me about 7 grand or something, I think, in total. It wasn't much whatsoever. You can really pick up some of these players very, very cheap. And that pretty much is it for me. I'll show you the goals now with a little bit of music. And yeah, please go ahead and hit the like button. Also, don't forget to go and subscribe as well if you haven't already. Let's try and hit 40 likes on today's video. Also, don't forget to leave your comments down below and let me know what team you'd like me to show you the worst possible version of next. I'm planning on doing England, I think, and Manchester City next, but let me know your thoughts on other suggestions as well. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.